Hey there, Modern Samurai audience. We are on our way to Home Depot. Again, we have to buy some equipment to sort of make it all work now that we are getting close to ordering our new workspaces. The plans that I had done are off with the manufacturer. They're trying to see if they're what it's going to cost. They're costing all that out for me and telling me how long it's going to take to cut all my aluminum, and I'm quite pleased by that. What I want to talk to you guys about today is a concept called future pacing and how it can affect planning. Now, I use the term loosely, so those of you who have a strong NLP background, get off my back about it. I don't need to be super pedantic about this stuff. So for the rest of you, what future pacing is, well, what pacing is sort of matching, for this purpose, it's matching the cadence and sometimes the feeling, the frame of another person. So if you're super happy about something and I want to be able to have a conversation with you, it's easiest if I sort of match your level of excitement and happiness and sort of join you in the conversation you're in, and then I can sort of lead you to another conversation. Whereas if I'm in a radically different mindset and I hit you sort of completely incongruously, you're not really going to be in a place where we can have a discussion about it, right? So if you're super happy about something and I'm super depressed about something, you will have a really hard time talking to me about whatever it is, not just because it's sort of harshing your vibe, but because you're simply not mentally in a frame to see things from a depressed point of view. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Future pacing, then, for this purpose, is matching your mental state to what you anticipate your mental state to be in the future. And this happens all the time when you think of the future. So you understand that empathy, the way you understand how other human beings feel, has a lot to do with you you can think of yourself as having a little puppet show in your head of other people. And what you do is you take part of your brain and you sort of pretend that that you are that other person. And then you sort of stop that little fake brain at times and probe it. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you whatever? So when we say things like put yourself in the shoes of someone else, when we say imagine what it's like to be me, that's the process we're talking about, right? You take part of your mind and sort of use it to simulate someone else, and then you ask it questions or you feel what it's feeling. The more empathetic you are, the better you are at this process and feeling those emotions, the better you are at analyzing people, the more accurate that model can be. So it's not the same thing. There are many people who are very empathetic and that they feel what they imagine other people are feeling, but they might not be very accurate in that what they think you're feeling isn't what you're actually feeling. So you can find somebody who's very sad for you because they think you must be very sad about something, and that makes them sad, but maybe you're actually happy about it. So their empathy was well placed, but their accuracy was very low. And you can have other people, and I would be one of those people, who we do a much better job of correctly predicting the emotions that other people are feeling, but those emotions don't particularly affect me particularly well. So my simulation is accurate, but it's still removed from me. I don't feel sad when the simulation feels sad, right? So anyway, this happens to you all the time, both in your past and in your future. So when you remember an event, human memory is experiential. In other words, it's not written down like it's on a piece of paper where it says, this. Memory is in a very real way recreated, imagined and relived every time you inhabit that memory. That's why you can get lost in memories. That's why memories have such a powerful ability to make you happy or sad. That's why memories can affect you for the rest of your life, because every time you go near that memory in a very real way, in a very real extent, you're reliving that memory and all the emotions that come with it. So if you remember in detail something that made you very sad, you'll feel sad to a degree. If you remember in detail something that makes you happy, that makes you happy. And what's interesting about memory that way is memory is malleable, right? It changes. So sad memories, depending on your personality, you tend to deepen that sadness over time. You walk around in them, and their power to make you sad becomes reinforced, and eventually that very memory is like a toxic waste dump of negativity and sadness. Some people, as they constantly relive sad memories because they don't particularly find that sadness to be valuable, they'll consistently tweak that memory to be happier. So they may wind up going, yes, I remember the day my dog died. It was a lovely day outside and the sun was shining, and then my dog died and I felt very sad. And maybe it wasn't a sunny day, but they're desperately attempting every time they relive that memory to find something positive to deal with in it. Okay, we'll be back in a little bit to talk about this some more, and we'll talk about now future pacing, right? So be back in a few. All right, we are back. We are in the car on the way home from Home Depot. There's been kind of a gap. I had some stuff to take care of on the way home. I got my stuff in the car. I will insert a little video of what I picked up. But in any case, we were talking about how in order to really experience memory, human beings have a tendency to relive those memories. And in so doing, we can alter them, we can change them, we are affected by them, and we affect them. Your memories are not static over time. Now, I want you to think about what it means to imagine the future, okay? If you think memory is like playing a movie, you're wrong. In a very real way, you reimagine the past. It's like a guided exercise in fantasy, right? And so the future, where you don't even have memory to guide you, but it's using the same mechanism. It's the same part of your brain, right? It's the same concept for our purposes. So if I say something like, 55 people this month will be hit by cars within a 100-mile radius of you. It's a bare fact, and many of us will treat it as a fact, as an objective fact. We don't inhabit it, we don't imagine anything, we don't personalize it, we just take in the fact. But what if I said something different to you? What if I said, imagine what it would be like to be one of the 55 people this month that will be hit by a car within your area. Now I've asked you to do something entirely different. In order to access the feeling, what would it feel like? You're not just processing a fact, you have to process an emotional experience. And in order to have that experience, you are going to engage the part of your mind that, handles reconstructing memory, the part that imagines things, the part that gives you nightmares and good dreams, and you are going to momentarily construct a virtual, if you will, reality. And you'll see yourself in some scenario. You're crossing the road and there's a car and it doesn't stop in time and it hits you, and you don't really know what it feels like to get hit by a car. So you edit in the most painful thing you can imagine, and then you think about being in the hospital and you hate being in hospitals, and you think about all of that, and you wind up with a feeling of maybe fear or uncertainty. And then, or imagine what it would be like if your wife or daughter or son was one of those killed by an automobile. So now you're imagining yourself at a funeral. And what I've done is I've taken a bare fact that you could think of in a logical way, and I've forced you to construct an entire pseudo-reality around it, essentially creating a false future memory so that you can then remember this thing that never happened, so that you can examine your feelings. And you see where we've talked about this before? Constructing something and then inhabiting it, and then examining your feelings. So memory is like that. Empathy for others is like that. Your memory is constructing an imaginary event, but guided by things you believe you remember to be true. Empathy is constructing a false reality from the point of view of someone else, given what you imagine you know about them. And then thinking about or imagining these things for the future is just creating the same false context, but given what you think you know about the future. Now you can see where future pacing is. It's a very interesting thing, right? So now that you've constructed this future you, and if you're going to pace that, which means you feel what that future you feels, or we could think of this as empathizing with yourself. So what you choose to think about the future and how you choose to think about it determines how you feel now, and can have a profound effect on what futures you choose. So if I tell you, we are going to go skydiving, and you think about it from a factual point of view, you think about the fact that skydiving's comparatively very safe as extreme sports go. If you choose to future pace a future where things go well, then you create a scenario of you and me, and we're having a beer, and we're patting each other on the back and high-fiving, and there's a girl next to us, and she's like, "What did you do today?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm a skydiver. It's a thing I do." Like, now you're future pacing a triumphant, victorious you. Or you can future pace the you where you have a decent skydiving experience, but my chute doesn't open and plow into the ground. And I would suggest to you that unless there's some aspect of planning for the future that is only accessible to you by imagining or inhabiting the negative possible outcomes, I would suggest that you think of negative outcomes objectively so that you can plan for them. And you think of positive outcomes, you inhabit those, you inhabit that future. So I am building a desk. I'm ordering all the parts. The parts are coming. There is a future where I'm in the process of getting ready to put that desk together, and my office is all torn apart, and it's a Saturday, and I only have till Monday to get it done, and the manufacturer sent me the wrong parts, and I can't put that desk together. Now, this is a negative outcome that I need to plan for. So my plan, what I'll do is I'll stay objective as much as I can. What do I do in those circumstances? Well, that sucks. I know I'm going to be angry. I know I'm going to be disappointed. Maybe there's some variation of the desk I can construct because it's modular, and maybe I can get enough of it together that I can still finish the plan of moving into my office. In which case, I don't need to inhabit that future. There's nothing about the feeling of stress or disappointment that I need in order to plan. My plan is not going to change given just feeling how annoyed I'll be. It's enough to know I'll be annoyed. Or maybe I can't do anything at all, and I'm going to have to grab a laptop and work from somewhere else that's not my desk until they send me something new. And I know I'll be angry, and I know it'll be uncomfortable, and I know I'll be disappointed, but I know for a fact that it's doable. And because I know it is doable, there's nothing about those negative emotions that I need to experience in order to plan for that future. Okay? So I can look at that as a set of bare facts. There's a small possibility I'll have the wrong desk. Of that, there's a small possibility I won't be able to recover and build at least a usable workspace. And if that happens, I will be able to work well. And I can examine that future without fear and panic and trepidation. And I can come out of that knowing it. On the other hand, the far more likely outcome is that the desk is going to go together very well. Now, I can continue to look at that as a bare outcome as well and plan this entirely objectively. But you know what? I'm hot, I'm tired, I'd rather be at home. I didn't really want to go to Home Depot today. I needed a little motivation. I needed some counter to the immediate feeling of tiredness and, you know, the whatever minor negative emotions I was feeling. I needed something positive. So without deluding myself about the possibility of how well it's going to go, because it's far more likely that the desk will be fine than not, I can take a moment and allow myself to future pace the much more likely outcome, which is that the manufacturer I selected, who's a good one, is going to send me all the right parts, and I'm going to put that desk together, and by Sunday night that weekend, I'm going to be kicked back with my feet up on my brand new desk, showing you guys, filming a YouTube video about how awesome the whole thing is. And that's the far more likely outcome, and that's the one that I needed to inhabit today to get a little bit of motivational kick. Now, if the possibility of getting that desk together was like 2%, and I was constantly inhabiting that low probability future in order to get a positive emotional boost as a way to delude myself that everything is going to work out fine, well, then that's not helpful, right? That's just deluding myself for the sake of deluding myself, and that's very, very negative. But when you can choose to inhabit the positive future that you've planned for, that's probable, or you can choose to inhabit the negative future that's a low probability with no purpose, when there's no value in inhabiting that future, when there's nothing to be gained except stressing yourself out and depression, then I would suggest to you that you not do it. Simply don't do it. Don't spend your time going down that rabbit hole. Oh, my desk is here. I'm going to not here. I'm going to be annoyed. Oh, I'm going to be so annoyed. Oh, it's going to make me so angry. God, I can't believe they screwed that up. I talked to them like you could just work yourself into a freaking frenzy. And there's no value to it. Now, if the decision you're making is fundamentally emotional, let's say it's a relationship one, then it's reasonable to say, oh, what if I never talk to that person again? What would that feel like? Because there's no objective measure to be had. The only way for you to assign a value to the possible outcomes is to go there and experience that, because it's an emotional thing you have to experience. Okay. Then you have to do it. You have to suck it up and let that happen. But if you can avoid it, don't. All you're going to do is make yourself crazy for no reason. All right, guys, we'll talk later.